Stocks stage a recovery after a weak start with IT leading the charge. Auto and consumer durables also eke out gains while realty and energy stocks drag. The surge in the share price of Groww is the result of short sellers getting squeezed due to low float available for delivery and positions being auctioned on the NSE, reports Money Control. The stock slumps as the frenzy fades. KC International slides after Power Grid bars the company from fresh contracts for 9 months over contractual transgressions, while a probe by income tax officials across Waaree Energy's facilities spooks the street. Adani has pipped Vedanta and others in the race to take over JP Associates, with 90% of lenders voting in its favor. An LOI is expected to be issued to the Adani Group soon for the resolution. Good afternoon, you're with us here on Business Lunch. We are coming to you live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. I am Hormuz Fatakia. The Nifty today is in familiar territory. It's the midweek session between the NSE expiry yesterday and the BSE expiry tomorrow. But for now, the index holding on to gains of 110 points at the highest point of the day. Monday's intraday high was 26,024. Yesterday's intraday high was 26,023, and currently we are perched at 26,019. So that's where the index currently stands, and today's intraday high was 26,031. So in familiar territory is what I meant by the index. The real challenge begins now as to whether this 26,000 level can sustain on a closing basis, more importantly, and then build on to those levels to first cross the recent swing high, which is 26,104, and then move towards the record high levels of September 2024, that is 26,277. What's leading the charge today is IT by a distance, and after all the sell-off, the AI-related sell-off on Wall Street, the Nifty IT index behaving as an outlier. Of course, a lot of the consensus view coming in that India could act as an anti-AI bet, and the Nifty IT index up 1,000 points, Infosys up 3%. The buyback opens tomorrow. That's the big trigger for the stock. TCS up 3, HCL Tech up 4. So all of the constituents of the Nifty IT index doing fairly well for themselves in today's trading session. But barring IT, there are a number of other stocks that are also in the news, and Upasana is here to tell us about all of those names. Upasana.
Well, good afternoon. First up, let me start with Azad Engineering. The company is in focus as the company has signed an agreement with Pratt & Whitney Canada Corporation for development and manufacturing of aircraft engine components. Next up is LG Electronics, 2 positive ICs. On the back of this, we can see the positive momentum seen in the stock. Now, Morgan Stanley has initiated a coverage with an overweight rating and a target price of 1864 per share. JP Morgan has also initiated coverage with an overweight rating and a target price of 1920 per share. Next up is 361 WAM. Citi opens a 90-day positive catalyst for the stock, and the target price for this one is 1615 per share. Next up is KEC International. On the flip side, the company has been barred from participating in Power Grid Corporation of India, and the exclusion period is about 9 months starting from 18th of November 2025. And lastly, Waaree Engineering also in focus as IT tax officials have visited multiple locations for an investigation. So we can see the stock trading negatively on the back of this. So all in all, these are the stocks on our radar.
Some important and interesting names. Upasana, thank you for that. The other major talking point, as has been the case over the last 6 sessions since its listing, has been Groww. And the stock as of yesterday's close was up 90% from its issue price. But today, after a weak start, has now slumped to a 10% lower circuit for Groww. That's the first fall that the stock has had since its listing. Of course, after the frenzied move over the first 5 days, the price band of Groww was revised down from 20% earlier to 10% currently. And as of right now, as latest speak, close to 2 crore shares worth of sell orders are still pending on the NSE as we speak for Grow. No buy orders correspondingly, but at these prices, there are at least 2 crore pending sell orders. Now, Money Control reported yesterday that almost 30 lakh shares of Grow were pushed into the auction window on NSE yesterday, and analysts that Money Control spoke to say that this quantity is unusually large. Now, why did this happen? This happened because the traders were hoping that this post-listing rally would fizzle out and the stock would move lower, and hence they ended up shorting the stock. But contrary to their expectations, the stock continued to move higher. And as they could not arrange for the delivery of the shares that were shorted, the 30 lakh shares were pushed into the auction window. And that is why this auction window was, the shares were moved into the auction window. Now, there are some concerns as well. Now, there is very little float in the market. That also explains these frenzied lopsided moves that you are seeing in Grow. Most of it with the promoters also locked up as well. There has been a very sharp run up in the first 5 trading sessions, and historically, stocks that move up so quickly, they do see a bit of a cool off. Urban Company is a case in point. The stock went up to as much as 200, now is trading at around 140, 150 levels. The Urban Company too went up to levels of 438 yesterday, trading with losses currently, but still above its IPO price. So these are some of the concerns. Of course, elevated valuations aside, that is of course been a concern ever since the stock began to move higher. But the next major trigger for Grow is on Friday. That is when it declares its results. It will be the first quarterly result that Grow will be declaring after listing. And then comes the 10th of December, where its 1-month shareholder lock-in will end. And that is when over 140 million shares will become eligible to trade. That is according to Nuvama Alternatives note. So these are the 2 important sessions to watch out for Grow, which is Friday is one and the 10th of December is the other. For now, a 10% lower circuit for Grow. More shareholders at these levels. Interesting to see where the stock goes from here. But primary market activity continues to remain abuzz, and the latest listing today was the automotive component supplier Tenco Clean Air. It was a strong debut, holding on to gains, listed at a premium, still holding on to gains of around 27%. Earlier today, we spoke to the management of the company and discussed about their growth outlook. Here's what they had to say.
We have very strong tailwinds. So one is we are sitting on the India Inc. story, right? So already 4 to 6% of growth we're going to see simply because of India's growth and the market growth rate. But beyond that, we have 3 strong tailwinds. One is content per vehicle growth from legislation, emissions legislation, and premiumization of shock absorbers. So from a clean air powertrain business, the legislation will help us, whether it's BS6 going to BS7, CAFE norms coming in, TREM 4 going to TREM 5, or on the premiumization side, because SUVs are getting premiumized very rapidly, and so the move from static to dynamic suspension is also happening very rapidly. So we expect to get a nice boost from growth from just pure content per vehicle increase. Exports is going to grow way faster, simply because we're starting from a lower base, and because the tailwinds within exports are so favorable to us right now. We think that we're going to be, again, I cannot give you the exact numbers, but very fast growth in exports. We are noticing that the end consumers and OEMs now want ride quality to be one of their key differentiators, right? And you can see that across all the Indian OEMs. So 95+% of the Indian market is conventional shock absorbers. Now we see, in fact, I would say even higher than 95%. But now what's happening is the market's moving very aggressively towards like frequency-dependent damping, and I would say even more like, let's call it semi-active suspension to even active suspension. So I think that journey is helping our content to go from X to anywhere from 3X to 4X, and in some cases even 6X, depending on the kind of technologies being used.
That's the latest listing, Tenco Clean Air. It's a clean debut as well. It's a 27% gain from its issue price. Now, the latest on the Jaiprakash Associates resolution. The creditors have favoured Adani Enterprises bid. Let's go across to Ritu for more details on this. Ritu.
Well, Hormaz, it is a big development, as far as the long-run resolution of Jaiprakash Associates is concerned. And there is a clear winner, with sources indicating that almost 90% of the Committee of Creditors, which is led by the National Asset Reconstruction Company, or NARCL, voted in favor of Adani Group's bid to take over Jaiprakash Associates. But keep in mind that NARCL alone controls about 86% of the voting share. So their decision alone, sealed the outcome, so to speak. Even though, a few lenders like SBI and ICICI Bank, for instance, we understand, which have less than 3% of the overall voting share, chose to abstain, but that didn't really impact the final outcome of the vote. Now, why did Adani win the lenders over despite Vedanta offering more money upfront, overall rather? For that, the sources indicate that, it is a higher upfront payment in the case of Adani, which was the deal sealer. As we've been reporting, Adani has offered about 13,500 crore rupees, which includes about 6,000 crores as upfront payment to the lenders and another 6,700 crores after 2 years, which means in net present value terms, lenders evaluate its offer at around 12,000 crore rupees. And Vedanta, on the other hand, had a larger overall offer, about 16,000 crore rupees, but only 3,700 crores as upfront payment. Now, we do understand Vedanta attempted to restructure its payment schedule such that it increases the upfront payment portion, but sources tell us lenders and the resolution professional did not accept the change because the Swiss challenge window had already closed. Now, the vote has been completed and lenders are going to issue a letter of intent to Adani Group, and next, of course, the resolution professional will place this approved plan before the NCLT for the formal approval. Now, remember, JP Associates is facing claims of more than 57,000 crores under the IBC. So even with this 13,000 crore rupee offer, lenders are staring at a steep 77% kind of a haircut.
Ritu, thank you for that important update there on the JP Associates resolution. Now, earlier today, my colleague Prashant spoke to Vishal Kampani, the Vice Chairman and Managing Director at JM Financial, from the sidelines of the JM Financial India Exchange 2025 on the Indian market outlook going ahead. Listen to what he had to say.
As I said, the word is horizon, right? What's your horizon? If you're really a long-term investor, which, retail in India is proving to be a smart investor using SIPs, taking a long-term view on equities, your returns will be very good as long as the economy is growing at 6-7%. You don't see any macro risk. There's stability. Foreign exchange reserves are almost 700 billion, right? Consumer, there are parts of, the sector in consumer which is slowing down, but it's also slowing down because of competitive intensity. Right? Yeah. So I think, leverage in the retail or the individual segment is not that high. Next year, which is 26, 27, you should be seeing close to 14 to 16% growth in earnings. Today, India is in a place where we have a lot of different pools of capital operating at the same time. Right? So where is this surge of IPO activity coming from? It's largely coming from the investments of private equity. You see, last 6-7 years, we've got almost $350-400 billion of private equity inflow into the country. Assuming these smart investors want to grow their money at 15%, right? Over the next 5 to 7 years, that's almost $800 billion to $1 trillion of exit value if these companies have been able to grow at 15%. Indian corporates have become careful in terms of doing M&A. You see, the returns from M&A generally in the last 15 years have not been great.
And we take a short break here on Business Lunch, but just as we do that, here's some good news for our viewers. India's business news leader is now at your fingertips, introducing the CNBC-TV18 all-new mobile app, which gets you breaking news, in-depth articles and financial world updates at your fingertips. You can download the app from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, or even scan the QR code that comes up on your screen. Take a short break, but more on the other side. Welcome back. Now, US President Donald Trump said that he was speaking with various people about the Federal Reserve Chairman's job and had some unexpected candidates on the list of those who might replace Jerome Powell when his term comes to an end. Listen in.
Have you started the interviews for the Fed chair?
Yes.
Who have you interviewed?
I think I already know my choice.
Who is it?
Well, I liked him, but he's not going to take the job. He refused. You like Treasury better, right?
Much better, sir.
So we are talking to various people. And, I mean, frankly, I'd love to get the guy currently in there out right now.
Moving on to some other developments in the U.S., Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman received a warm welcome at the White House. President Trump greeted him with a ceremony that featured marching bands, flags carrying horsemen, and a military flyover. The visit emphasizes deepening ties between Riyadh and Washington. This is the Saudi prince's first visit to the U.S. since the 2018 murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Addressing the media, Donald Trump has said that Saudi Arabia has agreed to invest $600 billion in the U.S., and that Saudi was being designated as a major non-NATO ally.
I want to thank you because you've agreed to invest $600 billion into the United States. And because he's my friend, he might make it $1 trillion, but I'm going to have to work on him. But it's 600. We can count on 600 billion, but that number could go up a little bit higher, yes, or I don't know. We'll see. But we appreciate it very much. So Saudi is going to be investing at least $600 billion, and that means investments in plants, in companies, money on Wall Street, and what it really means for everybody that really counts is jobs, a lot of jobs. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that we're taking our military cooperation to even greater heights by formally designating Saudi Arabia as a major non-NATO ally, which is something that is very important to them. And I'm just telling you now for the first time because I wanted to keep a little secret for tonight. I just heard him say, oh, that's nice. That's another point you won today. And signing a historic strategic defense agreement, which we just signed a little while ago. So congratulations. It's out here.
Meanwhile, the Saudi Crown Prince said that the murder of the US-based journalist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018 was very painful and called the incident a huge mistake. Listen.
About the journalist, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for, no real purpose or not in a legal way. And it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc. in Saudi Arabia, and we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that, and it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
We'll take a short break. More news and updates follow on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, Microsoft has announced a strategic partnership with NVIDIA and OpenAI rival Anthropic. CNBC's Steve Kovac gets us all the details.
Microsoft's getting into the mega AI deal game, the software giant announcing Tuesday at its annual Ignite conference. It has a new deal with Anthropic, where Anthropic will spend $30 billion on compute with Microsoft and NVIDIA. In turn, Microsoft will invest up to $5 billion and NVIDIA $10 billion in Anthropic. A source tells CNBC that new round of funding brings Anthropic's valuation to $350 billion. The deal extends what Microsoft's been working on for the last few years. Even though Microsoft's a major investor in OpenAI, its Azure cloud runs AI models from just about everyone. That means xAI to DeepSeek to Meta's Llama and now Anthropic. It's also another sign of the slow split between Microsoft and OpenAI after the two companies renewed their agreement earlier this month. Microsoft will start using more Anthropic technology in its own products. It's even using Google's Gemini AI in some cases now. The other major announcement out of Ignite, an AI tool called Agent 365. You can think of that as a dashboard that controls all the AI agents deployed across your company. But while Microsoft is seeing growth in its cloud business thanks to artificial intelligence, it still needs to sell more consumer-facing products like Agent 365, Copilot, and all the rest to justify its massive CapEx spending on artificial intelligence.
Now, in a defining moment in the world of art, a headlining artwork by Gustav Klimt, portrait of Elizabeth Lederer, became the second most expensive painting sold at an auction for a whopping $236.5 million, which is way past its estimate of $150. Even paintings are beating estimates these days. So that has been the trend in the second quarter results as well. Most of them at least did so. We take a leave on this edition of Business Lunch. We leave you with the Nifty still above 26,000. Don't go anywhere. Mid-cap radar on the other side to begin the final 2 hours of midweek trade.